Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-0 Take, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Welcome back to the 3-0 Take, presented by SeatGeek. This is episode 490. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin. I'm here with my co-host, Nate Reyes. Nate.
Hello. You know, I was just thinking about when I was watching the countdown video. New problem to have. You're gonna have to figure out the new video next year after the All-Star game. You're gonna have to redo. You're gonna have more footage to add in.
That's true. That's a good problem to have.
That's a good problem to have. Good All-Star weekend. Looking forward to it. It feels like it's far away, but something tells me it's just gonna, that old age, it just keeps creeping up. Just shows up. Next thing you know, we're in July of next year.
To be honest, I still gotta snag the tickets. I still only have the Airbnb lockdown.
That's all right. That's half the battle.
I gotta grab the tickets for that. But we'll be there. We'll be in Atlanta for the All-Star game, and I'm very much looking forward to that. That'll be good. I'm also looking forward to this episode, Nate. I was thinking about it today. I was like, here we are, post-award season, and we get to recap some pretty cool stories, and I'm looking forward to it.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. We also, which I don't remember if we mentioned this on the last episode or at any point before, but or you had alluded to it. But that sort of a twist for this episode is we wanted to combine recapping the awards from this week with a little bit of look back / reflection on the Hot Takes and Predictions episode from back in March, from before this season started.
Yeah.
And do a little compare, contrast, see just how far off we were, how on to some things we maybe were with some guys. With some things.
Most of it's wrong, though.
But we're going to latch on to what's good. So, but we're going to dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly. But so it'll be a little bit of an integration of that into our just regular award recap talk. But with that said, well, I'll leave it to you. Anything you want to share, or anything you want to touch on before we dive into it?
I think this is the new tradition. I think this is just how we go about our recap. Every off season, this is how we recap it. Reflection, recap. What are we doing for Ryan? Because we have Ryan's predictions. So we're going to go over those a little bit. You got something for that?
I mean, I've got, like what I included in the graphic. Yeah, I'll call him out when I can. I didn't write down everything that he had, but what I included in the graphic, it's there and it's ready to be referenced. So we can include that as well. And if you're new to the program, you don't know who Ryan is, Ryan Ripken, friend of the program, made his appearances on here over the course, or has made appearances on this pod.
Many appearances
over the last, few years now at this point, but has been MIA, and admittedly that's partially on me because I haven't exactly reached out to get him on the show. But
flipped from Oriole switch to Raven switch. The Raven switch is fully, and they're kind of rolling this year, so I think he's fully invested in the NFL at the moment.
It's understandable.
Yeah. The Prince of Baltimore,
Prince of Baltimore. We'll get him on here soon. I know the people love Ryan Ripken. Let's talk awards. And we're gonna go. I think it only makes sense to go in the order that the awards were presented. So with that said, let's start with the Rookie of the Year. How do you want to do that? How do you want to do it? Do you want to start each category referencing our picks, or do you want to follow up with that? Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. So Rookies of the Year coming into the season, I had Evan Carter coming out of the AL and Yamamoto coming out of the NL. I'll admit I think I got sucked into the World Series performance a little bit too much.
I think you did.
And
that's okay.
I think I tried to ride that horse a little too hard. I should have just acknowledged it, that maybe he captured lightning in a bottle a little bit there, and that was great for him. But I maybe I still had the rose colored lenses on a little too long there when we did our predictions.
Yeah, that's understandable. That's okay. A little recency bias with the world champs. That's all right. I had Wyatt Langford, so same team, same squad. I had Wyatt Langford coming out of the AL, and then tough look. I mean, Jung-Ho Lee, like he could have been, if he stayed healthy, maybe that could have been a thing.
And we'll find out real quick. That was a story with a lot of these guys. I think we were on to something with some of these picks, but injuries just, injuries or otherwise, whatever. It just, and I know that's a super easy cop out, but the reality of it is like I would venture to say that had injuries not played a factor here, our picks would have been looking a little bit better. But if you're keeping track at home, very clear to say that, or clear to see that,
0 for 2
did not get either of those picks right. Paul Skenes coming out of the NL, that this ruffled some feathers. I mean, of the awards that were handed out this week, that this, you could make the argument that this was one of the ones that ruffled feathers. And maybe I'm giving a little bit too much credence to the rather loud minority that was San Diego Padres fans. Like you were hearing a whole lot of noise coming out of San Diego's camp. Understandably so. I get it. Jackson.
That was my vote.
My vote. Not trying to take anything away from what he did, but you can understand why that's where you would be hearing most of the criticism from. Because you just have to take into account, you just have to look at what he was able to do this year. Like, was there from the jump.
Right.
I remember like it was yesterday when we were talking on this podcast about they're I don't want to say going out on a limb, but like they're making a decision, a conscious decision to make this guy
happens anymore.
Their everyday center fielder. Like
happens.
You just don't see that.
I love it. They committed to him the whole year, and it says wonders for how productive he was playing center field every day. I don't know how many games he played, but I think it was north of 140. I think he played a lot of ball.
Let's get a games total for Jackson Merrill.
And hitting at the top of a lineup that is like, this is a go season. I think that's what speaks to this even more.
156 games for Jackson Merrill.
Yeah, dude. That's my
Good
my
for
rookie
you,
of the
kid.
year. I'm sorry. That's my rookie of the year. That's not, I didn't put that on. I didn't put that in my prediction. I mentioned that last episode. I love what Paul Skenes did. I love it. Going back to the Padres are in a go season, like a win now season, like a push chips in the middle of the table type season, and to just and commit to a rookie, and for him to jump to the top of the lineup and lead the way, lead the charge, so many big moments,
clutch moments
for a rookie.
Sure.
So I think he did everything well. I think this is a little bit of a robbery. I think this is unfortunately just, you kind of fell victim to being stuck behind a guy that was the number 1 overall pick and throws cheddar and has a lot of spotlight on him and did well.
Did fantastic.
Did really well for the time that he pitched, but I don't know. I think Jackson Merrill outperformed him as good as Paul Skenes was. Jackson Merrill.
I don't know if I mean, I love Paul Skenes. I've made that very clear since he got brought up. Like I've loved following just every step of the process here for Paul Skenes. But the thing about Jackson Merrill that I absolutely love, sort of a takeaway from this year, like you said, big moments, clutch moments. This was not a rookie that was at the end of the dugout for these moments. He's not dapping up the guy
Nope.
that showed up that performed in the moment. He was that guy. He was at the top step for these moments. He was the one producing in these moments. And that's just, I don't
both
think
sides of the ball too.
That's exactly. And I think it's something that I don't think people consider enough when talking about this is the fact that he is a rookie. He literally you just don't come up and do that the way he did it at this age. Like people just assume that once you're a big leaguer, it's like, oh, you're the best of the best. There's some truth to that, sure. But it takes time. Some of these guys need to be seasoned.
There's a learning curve.
He came up and was just like, I might be all right without that, at least for now. I'm good. I'm here, and I'm here to stay. That was cool to watch. But the Paul Skenes thing.
Can we talk about the awkwardness of the moment he found out? Did you watch that video? Why is this man a robot, by the way? Why does this guy not have a personality?
It's not awkward. It wasn't awkward to me because it's just very clear that like this is the type of guy he is. Like it'd be different if he was like a rowdy, rambunctious kind of dude on the field. He's just this all the time. Strikes out. I'm sure he could probably go out and strike out 20 or get rocked. You're going to see this. You're going to see this outside. So if he gets presented the Rookie of the Year award, I don't see how that falls outside of that spectrum. So you're going to get this, and that's what we got. I did see a lot of people.
I like the beard more than just the mustache. The full beard looks a lot better than just the mustache.
Yeah. Looking big picture, though, here at this race, you could say that, and people were talking about it, you could say that Jackson Merrill fell victim to, I'm not necessarily saying this, but I did see it, that Jackson Merrill fell victim to what's turned into sort of a popularity contest. Where I stand on that debate, if you will, is that I do think Major League Baseball is, and I know that, this is like BBWAA, whatever, the sort of separate conversations here, but big picture, like zooming out, Major League Baseball recognizes that they have a product on their hands when it comes to Paul Skenes, and you throw in the whole Livy Dunn thing. I know people get tired of hearing about that, but the reality of it is, you look at what's going on in the NFL, Taylor Swift, Major League Baseball, and we joked about it when this first started developing. Major League Baseball is looking at the NFL going, oh, like, is this how we do it? Is this what we get to, is this sort of the games we get to play and the narrative we get to push and the stories we get to build? We like this. So any opportunity they get to sort of push that a little bit more, they're going to do it. So I'm not going to sit here and be the judge and jury on whether Paul Skenes deserved Rookie of the Year, but that I do think that that's sort of in play here.
Oh, big time in play. And I'll be honest, I had people that don't know baseball asking me about him during the season. So, the fact that he's bringing eyes is a big deal. It's big for the sport. So, no knock on him. I think Jackson Merrill is just a little overlooked here. A lot overlooked.
The final vote breakdown, Paul Skenes received 23 of the first place votes. Jackson Merrill received 7. And then those two just swapped numbers, vice versa otherwise. Jackson Churio received 26 of the third place votes, and Shota Imanaga received 4 of the third place votes.
Respect.
On the American League side, Luis Gil. This one, I guess you could say, rocked the boat a little bit. There were some folks out here in the Mid-Atlantic a little upset that Colton Cowser wasn't crowned Rookie of the Year, but
it was a rough second half.
It was.
And 3/4 of the season. He started off great. It got ugly.
All right, we have to pause here. Bridge to Bucktober podcast. I see you. I see you in the comments. Here. It's not even close, guys. Skenes was way better. I respectfully disagree. I may agree that Paul Skenes was deserving to an extent, but I'm not going to sit here and say that like Jackson Merrill shouldn't even be involved in this conversation. Like that, I think we have to stop there. I think that's where we have to set our weapons down, take a deep breath, and recognize that, like, you know, there's other guys here in the hunt other than our guy Paul Skenes. But no, back to the American League. You can certainly speak to the Luis Gil experience a little bit better, but I mean, credit to him for putting up the year that he did. 15-7, 3.50 ERA, led American League rookies in wins, innings pitched, and Ks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to toot my own horn here. I did a preseason Yankees outlook kind of thing of like who to be surprised about or like bold predictions kind of thing. And I said Luis Gil is going to be a big deal. Specifically around the absence of Garrett Cole in the first half of the year. And for him to do what he did, the arm was electric. Really good first half. I think it happened how we thought it would happen. It was, you know, coming off of TJ, first year as a starter, you kind of just run out of bullets after a while. And so you get the phantom IL stints and somewhat limiting the innings. But overall, like very, very solid. Like if you watch him, if you hadn't gotten a chance to watch a start of his, watch it next year. You'll see how live that arm is. It's special. He's got some nasty stuff. But no disrespect to Colton Cowser. I think he really fizzled out. I mean, one could have made arguments of Austin Wells. I think Austin Wells probably had a better year than Colton Cowser. So that's just me. Definitely a better conversation on the NL side of things. Definitely better competition on that side.
There was a graphic I was looking for, doing a little compare and contrast between Cowser and Wells. Can't seem to find it, but yeah, I mean, Wells was right up there in the thick of things too. I would say, not in terms of the voting breakdown, but just, you know, I think it also helped the fact that the Yankees were where they were at when it was all said and done. But not as much of a,
not too exciting here,
riveting race, if you will, but certainly need to give him his props. He became the 10th Yankees player to win the award and was the first since Judge back in 2017. Manager of the Year. You want to talk Manager of the Year awards?
Let's do it.
Okay. Going back to our preseason picks, I had, oh boy, I didn't put him in the graphic. Who did I have? Out of the American League, I know I had Quatraro.
As did I.
Yeah, I do recall that. Did we didn't match in both leagues, did we?
No. Who'd you have?
Oh, I had Craig Counsell.
Yeah.
I had Craig Counsell. Yikes. Well,
I had Quatraro. I can never say it. Quattro. I like Quattro better. It just sounds better.
Quatraro.
And then David Bell. Tough look on David Bell.
Yeah, I at least went with a guy that seemed at the time like a
cop out. This is spicy. This was a spicy episode. Trying to bring a little spice. The Reds, man, what a disappointment.
Truly.
I think Ryan had. I think he had David Bell as well because he was pretty high in the Reds. I remember. It's
possible. That. Yeah, he was. Yeah, because I was the only one that was coming to the defense of the Pirates. And for some reason, the Reds were the team out of the Central that you guys were riding high on, which at the time didn't make any sense to me.
Never.
In hindsight.
Yeah.
It looks like I was right there. Let's see here. Let's start with where are we at here? Let's start with the American League. No, let's start with the National League. Pat Murphy received 27 of the 30 first place ballots. The first Brewers manager to win the award.
Crazy. Crazy.
What's crazy about this? Tell me what's crazy about this.
Crazy that Counsell was in that chair. And one could argue one of, if not the best manager in baseball. And the fact that he didn't win an award there is pretty wild. So just interesting, that's all. Pretty cool. But pretty cool that his replacement said, I got this, and had a really good year. Brewers had a really good year.
Projected to win 79 games. They went on to finish the year 93-69.
That's a big deal. It's a really big deal. That's good ball out there. Looking forward to it a little bit. I think as long as they don't have a weirdo offseason, and it's trending that way, isn't it? It's trending. It's trending to have a soft,
non-splashy,
non-compile off of a good year last year.
Yeah. Or no, you're saying compound off of last year.
Compound, yeah. Like let's build off of this, and there won't.
Yeah.
They won't.
I feel you. Well, I mean, this last year, or I should say, this offseason for that reason wouldn't be any different than the previous off seasons we've had, because they've been in the playoffs. They've made
I hear you, but I think this feels different for me just because of the youth movement. And I would be excited about the core that's
but look at what's happening. You're losing Willy Adames, you're losing most likely Devin Williams. It's like the prospect of building off of last year is exciting, but I think reality is quickly setting in for the Brewers if it hasn't already. I
don't like it.
No, I mean, I agree with you. Like, maybe try a different philosophy this offseason, but ultimately you're not the experience that you're coming off of is at least to me, no different than the offseason that you've had over the last 5-10 years even.
Mediocrity. The Milwaukee mediocres.
Not Pat Murphy though. Pat Murphy,
good job.
I think job well done. The rest of the race was kind of interesting. Mike Schilt received a first place vote. Carlos Mendoza received a first place vote. And Rob Thompson tallying 5 total points in the entire race to Pat Murphy's 144. Rob Thompson, his lone 5 points came from a first place vote. And that was the vote that I kind of laughed at right before we hopped on. I was like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I get it. You look at what the Phillies were able to do this regular season and just the wave they seemed to have ridden the entire season for the most part. It makes sense, but I don't know. I just was not left with, and I know the postseason doesn't play into it, but I just wasn't left with the greatest taste in my mouth regarding the Phillies.
Me neither. I'm kind of out.
We did talk about that, and I don't know. Just
and you can't talk that much because the Braves were so beat up, not just a little beat up, so beat up.
Yeah.
Did you really conquer that division? It doesn't feel that way. I'm kind of out, kind of done. This
thought or opinion may change by March for our next hot takes predictions episode, but as of this moment, as it stands right now, I'm giving the Phillies another year where I'm really gonna ride that train. But after that,
why is no one here surprised?
What are you even saying right now? What are you even saying?
No one's surprised. No one's surprised that you're not out. You're just gonna.
I'm gonna give him one more year. I mean, let's not forget that Bryce is still there.
I want to mark this down.
No, I quite literally preface this by saying this could change by March. I may be out by March. We'll see how this offseason goes. If they get real weird and they're like, we're good on Bohm, you know, and ship off some other names, don't make any significant signings, then maybe we don't even get to that point where I give him another year. Maybe I'm out on him before opening day. Who knows?
I'd like that, I think.
I don't know.
I'm all done.
You know who I'm not out on, though, is Stephen Vogt. I think this was the award. This was
the right award.
I think this one was the one that got me going the most. I mean,
what a
story. What a pick. I mean, I hadn't even considered this reality, but as I was reading into it more, they were talking about how the note I got here, Joe Girardi was the fastest person to go from player to manager of the year winner. In 2006, he won the award with the Marlins after having played in the 2003 season with the Cardinals. Vogt finished his playing career on October 5th, 2022 with the A's, just 397 days later. Having no past managerial experience, Vogt was hired as Cleveland's manager and then goes on to win Manager of the Year.
Yeah.
Fastest person ever.
Let's go. I like it. I'm impressed. Sucker for a career-long catcher going into a managerial role. Just a job well done. Through and through. No nonsense. Not sexy. Cleveland had a good year.
He's so transparent, dude. I love it. Like, you know exactly what he's thinking. You know exactly what he's feeling. Not in like an unable to keep his cards close to his vest kind of way, but more of like he's gonna be straight up with you. He's gonna if he's feeling burdened by the way he's leading his team or not leading his team at that given point in time, he's gonna let you know, and he's gonna let you know like, hey, this is on me. Like, I got to figure this out. And if the team's doing well, if the staff around him is doing well, if the staff around him is supporting the players out there on the field and they're performing well, he's going to let you know that, like, that's where the spotlight should be. And that's just, like you were saying, that's a lifetime catcher right there. That's just a baseball guy. And that's about, like, I feel like there are a few managers in baseball right now. And again, this is his first go with this thing.
Yeah.
There are a few managers that I feel like have that sort of transparency and that sort of humility that Stephen Vogt has. And it's been demonstrated throughout the entire season. It was demonstrated through this award process. And I'm just a huge Stephen Vogt guy now. Like,
is this what we hope for David Ross? I think this is what we were all rooting for on that side of it.
Yeah.
Just that, like, that career catcher, that backup role towards the end of his career. I mean, like, I can literally still remember watching Stephen Vogt catching bullpens in Oakland. Like, that's where I think about. Like, that when you hear Stephen Vogt, that's what you think about. It's just, it's a good story. It's a good American baseball story. And you're in the heartland, you know, you're in Ohio. You're just doing what you can out in Cleveland. Just out there in the land, getting dubs. I'm here for it. Build on it.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, like I said, I think this was the one award that I was most pumped about. And I mean, you could kind of say that you could see this coming. I mean, I think we all saw that this was coming before. Man, a lot of these awards, I feel like we saw coming ultimately. But
to be fair, we weren't far off with Mr. Quattro.
I was just about to say, finished in second place with 73 total votes to Vogt's 142.
Also fantastic year. Fantastic job.
And then AJ Hinch coming in third. So shout out to the American League Central, man.
Big
holding
time.
it down. All good stories. And call me crazy, like not trying to go revisionist history here, but I feel like we were sort of giving props to the Central at the start of the year with these teams in particular. Because I think I had kind of gotten you, I think, and Ryan on board with the Royals a little bit, and I think we were sort of semi-confident in the Guardians.
Yeah.
And then we were talking at least coming into this year, and I think even a little bit last year, we were talking about how the Tigers, I feel like, were knocking on the door, and it wasn't the most traditional route to get there, but I think they ended up where they were hoping to end up this year. So shout out to the Central. Want to talk Cy Youngs?
Cy Young.
Let's talk Cy Young.
Finally got one right.
You did get one right. That's correct. Yeah. Our picks coming into this year. I had Kevin Gausman coming out of the AL and Zach Wheeler. Oh, we're gonna touch on this Zach Wheeler thing. And you had Spencer Strider out of the NL and Tarik Skubal out of the AL. Credit to you. I still, to this day, I don't know where the Tarik Skubal for Cy Young campaign came from in the preseason, because it
came from me. I started it.
Stop. It was everywhere. I'm going
starting here.
Stop. It was. It just didn't make sense. I'm like, I know he's seen success coming. Like he's bringing a decent body work into the 2024 campaign, but I'm looking around. He's like favorited in certain polls and tallies, and then he's right up there right in there in the mix with Cole and everything. And I'm going, I feel like Cole is just a perennial write-in, but all of a sudden Tarik Skubal is taking over the headlines. So I don't know like why the baseball world decided that this was the year that we were going to descend on Tarik Skubal winning the Cy Young, and it panned out that way. So
one
clearly,
could argue I know ball. You know what I mean?
You know ball. When it comes to, I mean, outside of the American League Cy Young, it's up for debate. But when it comes to the American League Cy Young, you know ball.
I'm here.
I'm your guy. You can count on Nate. Nate's your guy. If you need to know who the American League Cy Young is, he's got you.
Did you see the TikTok video? I don't know if it's on Instagram. Like the video after he won. It was like a whole thing, dude. Yeah, it was like a whole thing. I think it was his birthday.
Yeah, dude.
His girlfriend bought him a new car,
which is kind of wild. Can we talk about that for a sec?
With his credit card, I bet. You know,
I would imagine. Yeah. I don't know how I'd feel about somebody buying me a car. You know, like that's it's not like a pair.
My wife buying me shoes.
Right. It's like not a pair.
We're good.
It's not. Yeah. It's not a pair of jeans where it's like, yeah. I mean, I'm not like wild about it. So like worst case, you just return it. But that's like a car. Like
it's a car.
You're kind of stuck with that. You're not going to return a car. But I'm sure they talked about it and she already knew. But still, the thought of that made me a little like, ugh.
And then he got the happy birthday singing, you know?
Got the happy birthday. I think I saw him out back. He was popping champagne, losing, man.
That's a squad. His boys just getting the champagne shower going for him. That's a good day, you know? Win some hardware, get a new car.
On your birthday.
Got the lady there, got the boys there. It's a good day.
Unanimous, 30 of the 30 first place picks, coming in at 210 total points, a Triple Crown winner, as was his National League counterpart, Chris Sale. But Tarik Skubal, what a year. What a year.
One could argue I was close. I had Strider, same team. You know, there was something cooking there with the Cy Young picks.
I mean, ultimately, the spot that Sale like stepped into, not a spot that people were expecting him to fill, given just, you know, the backstory from Boston and you know, what are we going to get here? But once he made it clear that like, no, I'm good, I'm healthy, I'm here to win baseball games. And it's like, okay, this is what Spencer Strider was supposed to be this year. And that was a cool storyline narrative to follow in and of itself. But
resurgence.
But this Skubal thing, like I said, I just don't know where this came from, but it was cool to witness. And just another tip of the cap to the Central, man. I mean, you look at the vote tallies for the Cy Young coming out of the AL. Tarik Skubal, the Tigers. Seth Lugo coming in second with the Royals. Emmanuel Clase coming in third. Cole Reagans coming in fourth. I mean, Cade Smith's even on here. He got a fifth place vote.
Sure. I think the AL Central is like, it's here to stay too. I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think this was a fluky year.
I think you could say the same thing about Skubal. Went 18-4 this year. AL best 2.39 ERA and an ERA plus of 170. Also,
can you imagine if they had one more starter for the postseason? You know what that could have done for them?
That would have been, venture say, a different outcome.
Yeah, I agree.
And also led all of baseball with 228 strikeouts and 192 innings. Heck of a year for Skubal, man. Gotta love it. Kudos to you. Kudos to you for the pick. 192.
That's the new 220. I think maybe 215.
Safe bet.
Yeah, unfortunately. It's all good though.
Dude's a dog though. He's gonna go out there and give you innings.
For sure.
Speaking of a guy that was able to give you some innings, Chris Sale out of the National League. Can I amend what I said about the Stephen Vogt Award being the one that got me the most fired up?
That's got you the most fired up?
I'd say it's about a tie. And I feel like that's fair because you got a managerial position and an actual player. So equally, I feel like these both got me fired up. And I know that might confuse a lot of people, like, oh, aren't you just bitter? Aren't you just pissed about the fact that you lost this guy? This was always going to be what happened.
Sure.
I'm not gonna try to rewrite history and say like, oh, we knew he was gonna win the Cy Young. But anything that he did was going to be better in Atlanta than with the way things shook out at the end of his tenure with Boston.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I'm not surprised. Am I surprised at the fashion in which he dominated this year? I'd say a little bit. I didn't see this coming.
I think we saw like a solid middle of the rotation kind of guy.
And that's if he stayed healthy. That was the big caveat there. But just like I said, Triple Crown gave you the starts, gave you the innings, and when he was out there, he was back to his old self.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to be reminded of the fact that like this isn't a guy that has a trophy case full of these. Like this was his first. With the career, the body of work that he's given you over the course of his career.
It's a good resume.
Like, ignoring injuries, you go back to his more dominant days, like in Chicago and his early stretch there in Boston. The fact that he didn't have a Cy Young up to this point, just crazy. And then we get the quote today. I don't know if you saw it, but he apparently had considered retiring before he was traded to Atlanta. Which,
insane.
Like, good thing he didn't.
I know. That's a good baseball story right there. It's a good baseball story. The one lone bright spot going on in Atlanta. So, even when you have a tough year, you still have something to brag about.
Got a note here. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, Sale is the first pitcher ever to have 5 top 5 finishes in Cy Young voting. Prior to winning the award for the first time, he's also just the 6th pitcher to win the award for the first time after turning 35.
Yeah. Still got a lot left in the tank, I think. This could play. You could see like mid to late 30s Nathan Eovaldi type trajectory. What do you think of that?
Well, Eovaldi's younger than Sale, though.
Is he? I thought he was like 37.
No. He's 34. He's younger than Sale.
All right, let's find a new comp.
I get what you're saying, though. Like a resurgence. I track with what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like Chris Sale had a lot of hype, downfall. Now we're coming back up. Nathan Eovaldi was like, no one knows who you were, struggled for a few years, took off, you know? I don't have any other comps that come to mind.
The trajectory.
We can't go like Verlander, Scherzer type conversations. You know, they've been dominant their whole career.
Yeah, no. And again, I have no doubt that if he would have stayed healthy, that would have been the case for him as well. Like
he's got the stuff for it.
Yeah, exactly. He's not the type of guy that's going to struggle to find stuff at a lull in his career. Like, this is just going to be a guy that goes out there, has the best stuff that night when he's on the mound, and is going to be better than the guy that he's going up against every single night. But when you're not healthy, you're not available. They say, you hear it all the time, your best ability, or the best ability is your availability. If you're not able to go out there, sorry, like, we can't put you in these same conversations as guys like Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, because you're just not out there.
Yeah. I think his success makes it a lot easier for the Braves to let Max Fried go. Now, again, he hasn't signed anywhere yet, but like, I think he's elsewhere. I don't see him
he's out.
Going back to Atlanta.
No, he's out.
So I think this makes things a lot easier, and it was a buy low. I mean, this was a high risk or a low risk, high reward type thing, and it paid off big time for the Braves. Smart general managing per usual.
That's both Cy Young's MVP. Fresh off the announcements tonight.
The least surprising. This was decided 4 months ago. This was decided in June or July, I think.
Which brings up an interesting point, and I sort of hinted at it earlier, but more like broader picture here. Is it just me, or are there just not really any more surprises when it comes to these awards? I don't know if it's just because of the attention given to, or the accessibility, or the media coverage, or what it is. But it's like we get to award the week of the award announcements, and it's like we've dissected this from every angle, and there's really only one or two ways to look at it.
Yeah,
and both of those ways point to player X winning this thing. So it's like.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, like we pay attention to numbers more than we ever have. And like you said, the accessibility of media, of coverage, of social media, like we get to watch, MLB TV, like awards when we were, 10, 15 years younger. It was a little bit of a surprise. Now it's like we're able to watch more and experience more. That's kind of my beef with the timing of this. Let's go ahead and release this before the World Series. Let's take that lull that we have after the championship series and the World Series, and let's inject this, because that voting's already done. It's already done. This is a scheduled release. The voting is done before the postseason even begins. So for anyone out there that's unfamiliar, like if you're like, oh, where's, the postseason bias here, that has nothing to do with it because the voting was already in. Release it sooner. For me, personally, I'm moving past 2024. Like I'm already we're talking free agents. We're kind of, daydreaming about new players on new teams, new transactions for your favorite teams. Like, I'm kind of done with 2024.
This was the last domino to fall.
Right. I'm all done. So it's like I don't see the point of hanging on this late to release this stuff. Put it right before the World Series and maximize the hype of baseball at that time.
Look at how this World Series would have gone if you have the unanimous MVP winners coming into the World Series to face one another.
But instead, you have your broadcasters kind of tiptoeing around what will probably be the MVP of the AL versus what will probably be the, like, don't do that.
They knew. We all knew. Ohtani knew. Judge knew.
Maximize it.
Like, give it a little bit of the college football flair where you get the Heisman 100%. Potentially in the national championship game. Like,
perfect.
That's way better.
Perfect.
Or sprinkle in a Cy Young or two. Like, come on.
Could very much release this before the World Series.
I don't see any benefit to doing it. Like, forget. Okay, say it has to be after the World Series. Fine. Why are we waiting the week before Thanksgiving to do this?
Oh, I've moved on.
Like, I just want to be, like you said, I want to be able to look ahead to 2025. Like, okay, where's Fried gonna go? How long is Soto's contract gonna be? Stuff like that. But now it's like, okay, we just gotta wait to close this last door on the 2024 season before we can look ahead. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not gonna get like genuinely upset about it, but it seems like an easy miss, or an easy win, I should say, for Major League Baseball had they decided. Or if they were to do this before the postseason rolled around. I don't know. It just...
I hear you.
Doesn't make any sense. But I'm not going to get all that worked up about it. But Shohei Ohtani and Judge, as we mentioned, unanimous winners in their respective leagues.
Dude, I don't know how deep... I mean, how deep do we really need to go? Like, I think everyone listening to this knows the type of years they had. You know? Like, this is... two of the best years. And I get that that's probably something you can say about an MVP every year, but these were truly like some of the best offensive years we've ever witnessed.
I think I saw our guy Justin Havens tweet out. I know you like his nuggets from time to time. I think I saw him tweet something out to the effect of by OPS Plus, I want to say he said this was the best for Judge, that this was the best offensive season of all time.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that's what he said.
The OPS joined crazy company to have a career 1,000 OPS. And then it's just like these numbers that he puts up throughout the year just kind of continues to build it. But this year was great. I mean, it's better than the 62 year in my mind, just because of him hitting over 300 is a big deal. Like, what did he finish at? It was like 322 or something like that. 318.
You're talking Judge?
Yeah.
What did he finish at? 322.
22.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, like the bombs are there. I'm still pro RBIs. I'm still in that camp. I'm not moving. Camp's getting a little smaller.
It's such a weird, like, that's such a weird take to have, like, to be anti RBI. Like, what benefit do you have from trying to diminish the value of RBIs? Like, sure, if you're the guy at the plate, you're not the one that put them on. But if you're able to succeed with those guys on, like, how is that not valuable? I don't know. That's just a weird loser take.
It's a lot. And, you know, there was a big question mark in the leadoff spot for the first half of the year for the Yankees. And I would say even more. Glaber didn't really start taking off in that spot until like September. Now, it does help hitting behind Soto, but it's not like, you have a complete burner in Soto that's scoring from first on doubles. Like, that's just, he was pretty slow. So it's a job well done by Judge. And again, like the same way recency bias works for positive things. It definitely works on negative things. And yes, the conversation about Judge is, as a Yankees fan, like it just, none of this matters. I would take a subpar year in a World Series MVP over this, but I guess I can't be totally hater in this spot. I don't know. And fantastic year. Fantastic year. What was the OPS?
For Judge?
It's 11 change, wasn't it?
1159.
That's crazy. And I'll go back. I don't remember. What was the slug? What was the nuts? It was just a completely crazy stat to read out loud that his slug was higher than the league average OPS.
Oh yeah, he slugged 701 this year.
And the league average OPS
1159.
I don't know if it stayed that way, but at one point in the year, that was the case.
I remember we talked about that. Like at one point in the season, that was absolutely true. Like you said, I don't know if it finished out that way, but just insane.
It's just crazy.
Like that's gross.
Yeah, and he really did kind of fizzle out towards the last few weeks of the year. It looked like 60 was definitely in play for a while, and then it just kind of slowed down a little bit. But no, fantastic year, amazing year.
Finish the year going back to that OPS plus thing. I may be wrong on that quote or that tweet about it being the best all time in a single season, but he did finish the year with 223 OPS plus, which
means that's 2.25 players.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's ridiculous production.
And I think a thing that does not get brought up enough is that, for all intents and purposes, this should be Aaron Judge's third career MVP. But
yeah, robbed.
And I don't know if you mentioned that while I was looking up notes, but something that I think needs to be.
It really needs to be talked about more. He was robbed. I think that was 17 or 18.
17, Altuve. Yeah.
Because he would have had Rookie of the Year and MVP. That's right.
Right. Yeah. 52 home runs that year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And led, like, he beat Altuve in, like, multiple offensive
Altuve had him beat in, like, 3 of the 20 that you pull up on those side-by-side comparisons. It was just
dumb.
Whatever. But no, that's important, though, not having that third, because you look at, and I'm not going to say they're on the same level. That's for other people to dissect. I'm not going to sit here and talk about how close or how far apart Ohtani and Judge are, but you look at Ohtani, he now has 3.
Yeah.
And let me see. How many other have 3 plus? I saw that nugget somewhere. I mean, the list is obviously pretty small, but
I'm pretty bad with awards, I'm going to be honest with you.
But that's just that's sort of that. Going back to missing out on that MVP for Judge back in 17, like that's the kind of company that you're missing out on by not having that third one. And
yeah,
I'm not saying he won't get another, but you know, as it stands right now,
I mean, he's 33. You know, it's not going to get easier.
No, he's still well within his window, though.
Yeah,
which sucks for
get him out of center field.
Sucks for the American League East. Yeah, I mean. Tip of the cap, man. That's applause worthy.
It's wild. It's wild when you go back, and we can move on. But it's wild when you go back a few years because a lot of people were critiquing how he couldn't stay on the field, and I can go word for word and say I can remember saying that this was fluky stuff. The injuries were fluky. It was just weird stuff of like cracking a rib when he laid out in the outfield kind of thing. Like it's just strange injuries and then I feel like that's kind of been put to bed. And even this year, like the super slow start and a ridiculous amount of people saying send him down. So look, the monkey, the final looming monkey on the back is obviously the postseason performance, which is it's gotten like a long enough sample size to say it has been bad, you know. That's just kind of the last thing. And obviously a trophy. But anyway.
He's a 205 hitter in the postseason, by the way.
Yeah. It's a big drop off. Big old drop off.
Not good. But sort of putting a bow on the Ohtani thing now that we've wrapped up Judge. Going back to some comments from our guys over Bridge to Bucktober podcast in the chat. I just referencing one from earlier in the show. He when he was talking about how the Skenes Merrill race wasn't close because of the way the first place votes were distributed, 23-7, obviously in favor of Skenes. Okay. And this isn't a knock on them. This is more addressing the people in the room who maybe feel that Francisco Lindor got robbed of this year's MVP, given the fact that Ohtani was a DH. 30 votes for Ohtani, obviously unanimous. Do I think Ohtani deserved the MVP? Absolutely. Yeah. Do I think Francisco Lindor maybe deserved a few first place votes?
No.
I would have to say, yeah, like I'm not okay. In a weird, sick, twisted world where Shohei Ohtani could somehow be unanimous MVP, but also see Francisco Lindor get some first place votes in some weird alternate universe.
I mean,
even if it was just two, like. I don't think Francisco Lindor was the MVP this year just because of how insane Ohtani's year was. But to not even have a first place vote.
I can't.
And he didn't even get all of the second place votes, which I don't know. It seems a little off-putting to me, but all that to say, my point with that
844 OPS.
We don't have to do a deep dive here. I'm just saying.
Home runs.
I'm just saying the vote breakdown isn't always necessarily a reflection of the closest of the race. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's not. Like the fact that, like I said, Lindor didn't get a single vote.
How many did Bobby Witt get?
Bobby Witt's, I think he got
had all
of the second place votes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's what I thought.
Friend of the pod, Bobby Witt.
Yeah. Dude, just an amazing year. I think we've mentioned this before. I know I have. When you look at Shohei Ohtani, you have to think just pure ball player. And when you have one arm tied behind your back and what you're able to provide the team, and you somehow just say, okay, I'm going to steal a million bags then. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to add that. I've had it. I haven't used it, but I still can bring that tool out of my toolbox. You know, we've had seasons where he's on the mound where he just kind of shuts it down. He doesn't run that much. And I don't know how much of the Angels were doing that or dictating that. But the fact that like he's had that as a weapon and just hasn't really unleashed it until now in a year where he couldn't be on the mound, it just speaks to like it truly is like the best player in Little League. Like it's like you're just so much better than everybody and you're going to impact the game somehow, some way. It's
every single game.
Every game. It's truly unmatched in a way that I've never witnessed in any other player ever.
Speaking of unmatched, what other baseball podcasts out there brought to you before the season started their own preseason awards?
That's true. Who'd you have? I don't remember.
We did that. If you recall, we sort of made up some awards to...
Wait, you didn't give your MVP awards.
Oh,
Who were
true.
your MVP picks?
My MVP picks were Juan Soto, who finished third, correct?
Yeah, me too.
Finished third.
Also me.
And then I had Mookie Betts out of the NL, who, if you recall, go back to before he got hurt.
Yeah, he was well on his way.
Was tracking to be the MVP.
Yeah.
But then Ohtani obviously goes and does what he does, so it may have not even, certainly didn't matter.
Super Dodger heavy. I had Freddie Freeman. Crazy. Anywho's.
Shout out to Ryan, by the way. One little last nod to friend of the pod, Ryan. He had Gunnar Henderson out of the AL and Mookie Betts in the NL. Two pretty safe picks.
Yeah.
Credit to him, though, because I think Gunnar was expected to have a good year, but there for a while he was tracking to have, and I'd have to go back and look at how he finished up the year, counting stats wise. But
I think he correct me if I'm wrong, but he took off quickly.
He did, and then that's
Judge's like slow start. It was like, oh, Gunnar is like doing this.
Yeah, it was him and Bobby Witt, and if you recall, that's when we were having these conversations of like, who would you like the more like broad, who would you build your franchise? Yeah, but then it kind of he cooled off a little bit. So then at that point, Bobby sort of took over that second place spot. But
yeah,
still great year for Gunnar, all things considered. And then Mookie Betts, outside of an injury, another great year. But no, going back to what I was saying though about these preseason awards, we sort of made up some awards if you recall. But again, if you're new, probably don't know what we're talking about. We had made up some awards and sort of predicted who the winners would be for said awards. So we can run through these real quick just to, again, just wrap up the 2024 season so that we can fully set our sights on the 2025 season. Put it to bed. So I have here, you may have them in a different order, but I have in order we started with the over 35 award.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have the descriptions of what these awards were, but I would, if I recall,
pretty self-explanatory.
Pretty self-explanatory. The player who we thought would have the best year over the age of 35.
I had it as the Still Got It award.
Yes. Yep.
Still got it.
Still Got It award. I had Paul Goldschmidt.
I did as well. Same guy.
Let's see how. Let's take a look here, just briefly at Paulie's 2024. He finished
not the best.
Finished hitting 245, 22 homers, only accumulated a WAR of 1.3. Well, I say only. It was 1.3 more WAR than I accumulated this year. So credit to him in that regard. 65 RBIs. And that's over 154 games too. So just not the year we thought. But you compare him to other guys that are over 35, maybe it wasn't a half bad year. Like maybe, because that's who he's up against at that point.
Yeah.
So maybe he finished in the top 3 of the MVP voting for over 35 candidates. That'd be a little project for somebody if they want to take that on. See how Paulie finished in that pool. The next award we had was the
Bringing Up the Rear
award, which was who we thought was going to serve in the best role of a 4 or 5 starter. I had a lot of names. I don't even know who I ended up going with because I think and I just copied and pasted my notes from the Google Doc from that episode. And I had just listed out a bunch just to sort of, kick around on the recording. And I don't remember who I went with.
I think you said Chris Sale. Is he on that list?
He's second on that list for me.
I think you said Chris Sale.
Brandon Pfaadt was the first name I had down. But I feel like maybe I went Sale.
I feel like you said Sale. I think you did. Which is solid,
But what's crazy is like
he does a 4 or 5 starter no mo.
I was gonna say he sort of kind of removed himself from contention, I guess, because he became an ace #1 Cy Young Triple Crown winner. So I don't even know if I can take credit for that pick, but
yeah. I had Dane Dunning. Not a great year.
Tough.
Only made 15 starts. I think eventually got moved to the bullpen. Only threw 95 innings. 5.31 ERA. So a little bit of a miss there. A little, that could have been that recency Ranger bias. Tough.
Hey, we both fell victim to that.
Yeah, that's all right.
Just in different ways.
Yeah.
The Hey That's Me award, which I believe was we had to find guys.
This is a good award right here.
we had to find a guy who I think was like plus or minus 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Away from our weight, and then like same height. I think
same height.
I think we were set on it had to be the exact height, but there's a little bit of leeway there with the weight because finding a guy with our exact dimensions, believe it or not, was actually pretty tough.
It was, and
not for Ryan, because Ryan's what, like 6?
Yeah, he's like a really good size. Yeah, it's annoying for us.
For 6 foot flat.
And I'd like to think I got a little fluffier since the start of the season. It's sweater weather time, so no big deal.
So wild, but just by default, not by choice, my guy that I assigned this award to was Erasmo Ramirez, who is a pitcher for the Rays. Honestly, I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
He put up -0.2 WAR on the year. He went 3-0.
He
went 3-0. He had an ERA of 4.35 though. Only appeared in 13 games, but he did have a save. So,
yeah.
Of all the seasons in Major League Baseball that's ever been played by a player, this was one of them.
It was.
One of the seasons all time.
It was one of the years. I feel like I found a good name, and he just kind of let me down. I had Jesus Luzardo.
Yeah, you got it.
That's a good name.
That's a clear-cut favorite to win that award.
Yeah.
Between the two of us, I should say, not 3.
Tough look, did not finish the year. 12 games started. A 5 even ERA.
Tough.
3-6, but I don't think we're paying attention to wins as a Marlin. Anywho.
The tinfoil hat award. Refresh me on this. This was the award I came up with, but the description, if you will, was like who was most likely to get swept up in some sort of conspiracy or controversy, right?
Yeah, that's what I have as well.
Yeah. Okay. Did you write the descriptions down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just kind of an outside the box thinking here.
Yeah, just looking for some creative outside the box awards here.
Yeah.
And for mine, just given the way that the previous season had went, the two names I'd put down were Anthony Rendon and Pete Alonso. Because Pete Alonso is just that type of guy that's going to get swept up in something. Yeah. And fortunately for him, for the most part, got swept up in nothing but good stuff this year.
Yeah.
So he missed the tinfoil hat. He said, "Miss me with that." Yeah. Anthony Rendon, it's up for interpretation, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're closer than I am. I kind of just had like I don't even know if this really counts, but I said Trevor Bauer officially sues MLB. Like an official lawsuit.
I mean, who knows? You may have been like a day away from that. Maybe
it's true. It still could happen.
Maybe the rug got pulled out last minute or something.
I don't know. The way I see it is that guy is just getting fatter in the Mexican League. He's plump now. Have you seen some videos?
Oh yeah, there's some good food down there.
Eating some tacos, dude. He's getting in.
Who am I to say? I'm no better man in that regard. I would get fat.
Nor am I. He's just screaming at the other dugout. It's wild. Anyway.
There's no way we saw that coming award. I think I took this to the bank.
I don't have a name on here.
Probably because you didn't see it coming.
Yeah. What the heck?
Unfortunately, I don't recall who you went with, but it doesn't matter because it wouldn't have been a better pick than mine. Luis Severino.
Oh.
This right here is proof that I was high on Severino from the jump coming into the season.
You're not wrong.
And it turns out that he decided that he wanted to decline the qualifying offers. So to me, that's a pretty good indicator of how this year went for him. So do I know ball when it comes to Luis Severino, or do I know ball?
I feel like I had a dud because the description of this was player who either has a surprisingly great or poor season. I feel like I had a dud. I don't know. I'm going to have to, if any listeners want to go back to that episode and fast forward through all of Ryan's tequila
drunken rants. I might just, you know what? Tomorrow's Friday. I'm going to have a little fun. I might go back and just listen to that episode just for kicks.
It's a good episode.
Yeah. Ryan was on one that episode. That was fun.
Yeah. I think he was sitting around. I think we started like an hour late because of me. Something like that. Or he had a little buzz going for sure.
He was feeling it.
Yeah. I don't remember the name that I said. That's disappointing.
We'll figure it out. We'll go back to it. No, but last thing here on the Severino thing, I had jotted down just in parentheses as a reference point. Last year, he was coming off a 6.65 ERA with a 65 ERA plus. You go from that to declining the QO, looking for
good turnaround,
somewhat of a payout.
Yeah,
I'd say it's a pretty good turnaround.
I've always liked
sort of wrapping up here, the storyline takes. Now, this again, these are takes that we shared in the preseason predictions episode, and it's really open ended. Again, if you listen to that episode, you're familiar with kind of the angle that we take with these. But if you're new, basically, this is just something that I think I initially came up with a couple years back, where I was like, Nate, let's just come up with just think outside the box. Like, it can be as far out or just as lukewarm as you want. You kind of pick, but it can be whatever. Storyline, narratives, whatever. Just takes that you think will happen when we reflect back on the year at the end of the season. So I think I had 4, you had 3. So we'll sandwich it. We'll just alternate here. We can sandwich yours in between the 4 here. It. I started off, I was real high on Mookie Betts this year, obviously picking him to win NL MVP. But I said Mookie Betts wins a Gold Glove in his first full season at his respective infield position, and I had put in parentheses shortstop or second base because if you recall, quite the fiasco with
still.
Even still. But not to be the case, but the fact that they want to bring him back, I think speaks a little bit of volume to how they feel about having him in the infield.
Eyewash. It's eyewash. Is to lower the shortstop market numbers, I think.
Clear some space for Soto. Who knows?
That too. Lord, I hope not.
All I'm saying is, if he was that bad, they wouldn't be bringing him back. That's my only point.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Tough look here. Clayton Kershaw will get his 3,000th strikeout, capped with a CG.
Tough. The 3,000 strikeout would have been fine, but the CG was
one step too spicy.
I don't even think that's on the spiciness scale. Like, if you go to B-dubs and you're looking at how spicy do I want my wings to be? It's not even. It's not like on
those
on
Hot
the
Ones episodes. Yeah, not even a flavor.
Exactly. Yeah. I said, is there a way to look this up? I would I would actually be curious. I doubt it was true. But I said all 5 NL Central teams would be within reach of the division. I didn't specify a game amount. I just said within reach. That's up for interpretation. That's a subjective thing. Within reach of the division on August 1st.
Whoa. All right. I think you can look that up. I think you can look up MLB standings on August 1st.
MLB standings. Oh, here we go. Baseball Reference. Don't let me down. Oh, beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful. Baseball Reference. I appreciate you. August 1st, 2024. The NL, what did I say? The Central?
Yep.
Okay, so we had the Brewers in first at 61 and 47. The Cardinals were 5.5 back, 56 and 53. Pirates were 6 games back. I remember this part of the season because this is when we were talking about how
down.
For the Pirates, I do recall. Yep.
Yeah,
they were even 50 or no, I'm sorry, they were 55 and 53. And then the Reds were 9 back and the Cubs were 9.5 back. To be fair, I don't think we saw the Cubs be 9.5 back at that point, but
yeah.
It was really up to the Reds at that point.
Goodness. I feel like I really got struck with some injuries on a lot of my predictions. It's a part of it. Still stinks, you know. I liked this one. I was proud of this one. Javi Baez breaks the longest consecutive hitless streak held by Chris Davis. Which, if those aren't aware, it's 54.
I completely forgot.
I was proud of that one.
What kind of numbers did he finish up the year with?
I don't even know.
No, he was hurt, right?
He played, yeah.
Yeah, he was hurt for who knows how long.
I think he's in baseball jail at the moment. They got better without him.
They did. He logged 80 games this year. Finished with 6 home runs. Had 50 hits on the year. Hit 184.
See, it wasn't a ridiculous prediction.
Oh no, not at all. No, that was a great pick.
Yeah.
OPS plus a 46.
Sure.
OPS of 516. What did we say Judge's was? Like 1150 something?
1159.
Judge more than doubled Javi Baez's OPS.
Oh,
gross. I mean,
oh man, that's got to go down as one of the worst contracts of all time. Chris Davis, also in this sentence here, well, another one of the worst contracts of all time.
How about this one? I said, which not going to happen, but I said Dave Roberts is dismissed if the Dodgers do not win the World Series.
Well, we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Solid. And
serious question though. I think I said that with the belief that they weren't even going to be in the World Series.
Yeah. Well, look at your World Series winner. You have that written down, don't you? In the prediction?
Yeah, I had Phillies O's. No, but I'm more so speaking to the perspective that I had on the Dodgers throughout the year, where I was like, again, it's not going to be a cakewalk, blah, blah, blah. Had they made it to the World Series and lost,
maybe.
What do we feel like the narrative was on Dave Roberts this postseason? Do we think that would have been a possibility?
Maybe.
Probably not. But
I think this postseason he really put it to bed.
That's fair. Yeah,
this is a really well managed postseason.
I agree.
And it's the most managing that we've watched him do, specifically in the NLCS and World Series, with what he did with the bullpen,
but not over managing.
Right. He just pressed the right buttons every time. Now, to be fair, it's a roster full of really solid options, but he still pressed the buttons correctly. So I feel like that's a narrative that's no longer present. So, good for him. I do like that.
What was your last one?
Pete Alonso wins the NL home run title with a team other than the Mets. So I was expecting a trade. I was expecting a bad season on the Mets and then a trade.
Which that was on the table.
Neither of which happened, but
yeah, the trade part, not the home run part.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that pick.
Old Ohtani.
Look, it's easy to laugh at these takes now, but
there's some thought that goes into these.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like that NL Central being within reach thing. I remember being especially proud of that one. I was like, I feel good about this. I feel like this might be the year of the Central.
What's crazy, by the way,
it was the other league that it was the year of, but
prediction wise, I had Dodgers in 6 over the O's. So I guess I got a few things right on here.
Well, I did not get this one right. My last storyline take here is that I said the league. What was it? You said a lot of thought goes into these. I would agree, except on this one. I don't know what I was thinking here. I wasn't thinking really. I said the league would walk back the pitch clock. That the league would go. The league would go.
I think it's
we've made a mistake here.
Pull the Orioles of the left field wall and just say, you know what, let's restructure this. Yeah. I think it's the opposite. I think it's the exact opposite. I think there's more people on board now than ever. Yeah.
Well, I made that pick, or I jotted that take down through the lens of the league and not so much like public perception, but to your point,
I think you had a bit of an argument. I think that lasted a little while for you to try to talk us into that. And I think at this point, Ryan was pretty checked out.
I think we all were, because that episode was deep.
3-hour episode. You're not listening to that tomorrow.
I might, dude. Works real slow.
Put it at 1.5 speed.
We're coming up on the holidays,
little trick,
man.
By the way. Little trick. If you speed it up, if you're not a YouTube watcher, which you should be, but if you're not a YouTube watcher, you're just a listener, throw that on the 1.25. That really gets you through some podcasts. It does for me.
I don't want to speed through my podcast, so I enjoy listening to my podcast. So I want to
No, I like getting through it all.
No,
yeah.
What's the rush?
You know what? When there's people that are funny and there's less of a gap between jokes and it's a tighter dialogue, makes it funnier. One could argue. See that little pause that we just had? It's barely there, I don't even notice.
It's fair. I'll hear you on that one.
Just a pro tip.
Tip.
The other pro tip is to subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Exactly. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Get the views going.
Yeah, check us out on YouTube. Look, it's gonna be a fun off season. Looking now that we've officially closed the book on the 2024 season, sights are fully set on the 2025 season. It's gonna be fun. There's gonna be some moves that go down. We're gonna get weird. But there are gonna be, as with any postseason, there are gonna be some lulls. So come enjoy the experience on YouTube.
I think we might be due for some change-ups soon to fill some gaps.
We are due for a change-up. Yeah. Pizza's first up. We got to talk pizza.
Yeah. We got some gaps to fill around these holidays.
We'll get it done.
Yeah. Is that it?
Speaking of being done, yeah, that's all we got.
Awesome. You guys are great. If you're here with us still, you stuck it out to the end. You're a real one. You're a G. And you're my close friend. You're my close friend right here in the heart. That's where I hold that spot for you. Don't go chasing curveballs.
We love you all, and as always, looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.